Everyone, my name is Karla Wagner. Like Pastor Mike said, I've come here from Rockford, Michigan, which is just north of Grand Rapids, so it was about 3 hours and 15 minutes for me to get here. But it's so important that I make a point to go wherever anybody asks me to go in the state of Michigan. Because I think what we're talking about doing, eliminating all of the property tax in the state of Michigan, is so important for so many different reasons. A little bit about myself. I am a real estate agent. I am a licensed builder in the state of Michigan. I develop land. I own a little tiny breakfast and lunch eatery, which is attached to a little antique mall. I was a fully uniformed volunteer deputy with Kent County Sheriff's Department for several years. I'm a daughter. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother, and I'm a sister. And I grew up on a farm. So how many of you can say the same? Did I miss anybody? So you're all just like me. I'm all just like you. I am not a public speaker. I am not a politician. I've got more than enough things going on in my life. But so many things that are going on in my life, I think, is what God led me to be here. I've been self-employed all of my life. I have a sister that's been a school administrator all of her career. I've had another sister that's been a registered nurse all of her career. And I have just bounced all over from this and that and whatever else, and I could never really quite figure out why. I have also prepared tax returns for 12 years, so I know a lot about tax returns. I know a lot about budgeting. I know a lot about numbers. My brain just kind of thinks in numbers. And I think all of those things is what God put together and said, you know what, Karla, I think you're the person in Michigan that I have to assign this task to. Okay? So I have elderly parents that are 84 and 85. I worry about them. They're basically homebound. Us kids, luckily they've got 5 kids. We can all share the burden a little bit. It's getting to the point where even though they've been on the family farm for many years, the property taxes are going up, right? As the values go up, and they live not very far from Grand Valley State University. So that adds a ton of money. Those values, the land value around there is high. So even though theirs is capped, it goes up quite a bit every year, right? We have the Headley. Thank goodness for the Headley Amendment. But my dad started working in 1957. Think about that. He retired 20 years ago. I don't think he ever made $60,000 a year. So what does his pension look like? My mom was a farm wife and a stay-at-home mom. Her Social Security is very small. That's why they can't afford to stay on the family home anymore. But what are their options? What are they going to be able to buy at today's prices? And how are they going to be able to afford taxes at today's prices if they can't afford taxes on the property that they've owned for 40 plus years, right? Right. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so we all have parents that are probably in the same boat, right? As a real estate agent, I have not sold a house to people younger than 35 in 5 years. Our young people don't even dream of owning a home. Didn't that used to be the American dream? Home ownership was the American dream. Pride in that home ownership, right? I don't even sell houses to kids anymore. It's not because they can't afford the payment, because you know what? We all know this. If you make X amount of dollars, you can afford a $200,000 house. If you make this much money, you can afford a $200,000, because that payment is amortized over 30 years, right? So you kind of know what, hey, you know what, we're both working, we both have an income, we can afford this kind of house. Might be a little tight, but we can make it. And then maybe the woman quits working, or maybe the woman quits working to have a couple of kids, and you just stretch it a little bit farther so you can keep making that payment. And then by the time you're retired, the house is paid off. But you know what that payment's going to be all the time. House prices have gone up. I know this because I'm a builder. So is my son. But house prices are not what's keeping people from buying a home. It's property tax. because property taxes can be $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. Where I am in Cannon Township, I swear there's people that pay $12,000 to $15,000 a year because they live on a little lake somewhere, right? And they pay, it's a ton of money. It's a ton of money. And you know what? That money, those taxes, they don't put food in your pantry, doesn't put gas in your car, doesn't pay your electric bill, doesn't pay your prescription drugs, doesn't pay for your insurance. Really? It doesn't pay for, how many of those services on your property tax bills do you actually use? Okay, so we're going to start talking about this. I've got a slideshow here, and my slide guy back there is going to get rolling on it. So here it is, AxMiTax. Think of the things that I've just kind of talked about a little bit, and we're going to keep adding on that. Citizens Initiative to eliminate property tax. Okay, go ahead. This is one of the things I say quite frequently because I really want you to think about this, and I know you all are already. You're all going, she's nuts. We can't do that. We can't eliminate property tax. What is she thinking? But the elimination of property tax is so much more than the elimination of property tax. Okay, I want you to think about what would your life look like without property tax. Okay, go ahead. We're going to understand. We're going to look at my property tax bills. Okay. And I know I live in Cannon Township, I live in Kent County, I'm on the west side of the state, but we're going to look at my property tax bills in the hopes that when you go home tonight or tomorrow, whatever, you get your property tax bills out and you look at them a little bit differently, okay? All right, so here's the first one. It's the 2023 summer property tax bill. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right, I'm going to talk about the top four, and I'm hoping that you can see this okay. I know it's kind of small. This is I think this was my summer 2023 property tax bill. I live in a very old farmhouse on a couple acres, okay? Rockford operating, those top four are my local school districts, Rockford Public Schools, okay? Those top four millages are my local schools. The top one, those 9 mills, I'm exempt from that because this is my homestead. Okay, so you should probably, if you have something similar to this, you should probably be exempt if it's your homestead. Then we have Rockford debt, which is money that they've spent in the past that we're still paying for. The third one is Rockford Public Schools Parks and Recs. And a couple years ago, why does a school have a Parks and Recs department? And I couldn't quite figure it out. So it came up for renewal. And I thought, I got to look into this a little bit more and find out what this is. And these are the things that I want you to think about and go home and really think about, okay? So I called Kent County, the election director, and I said, Mike, can you please tell me what is on that proposal? Because I'm not understanding why we have a Parks and Recs millage. Because I haven't lived in Rockford that long. I grew up in Ottawa County where my folks were, and then I moved to Rockford, so this millage just came up, but it had been a 15-year millage. So I wasn't there when it started. I'm now coming into it when it's being renewed. Okay, so he goes, well, it's for playground equipment, Karla. And I'm like, what? I'm like, say that again, because it's a 20-year millage. It's a 20-year millage. They're going to make $2.5 million the first year. And it's a playground millage? What are you talking about? No way. So I called the finance director of the Rockford school, and I encourage you, anytime you have a question, you can call your township supervisor, you call the county commissioners, you call your school, you call anybody and everybody until you get the answer you want. So I called the finance director at the school and I said, could you please tell me what that millage is all about? And he said, well, it's playground equipment and community ed. And I said, wait a minute. If I sign up for a class for community ed, don't I pay when I sign up? Yeah, well then why is it on my property tax bill? I'm not quite understanding this. But anyway, it wasn't me that just didn't understand it, but unfortunately we had enough people voted to pass it. Goodness sakes. So $2.5 million, our property tax base is such that they receive $2.5 million the first year. It's a 20-year millage. By the time it's all said and done, they'll probably have netted $60 to $62 million. We have 8 public schools with playgrounds equipment on them. 8. So you think about that, $2.5 million a year for 20 years to replace playground equipment on 8 playgrounds. I thought that was a little excessive. I said, I'll do it for $2 million. I'm a builder. I'll do it for $2 million a year, whatever. They didn't take me up on that. And I also thought it should fit under the building and site, because wouldn't that kind of playground equipment would kind of fit under the building and site millage, but that's a whole nother millage, okay? Those top 4, those school millages there have nothing to do with the education of your kids. Nothing to do with the education of your kids, okay? You need to understand that, because I've been told when I say I'm going to go vote no on that school millage, people go, you don't love your kids, you don't love my kids, you don't love your grandkids, you don't love your neighbor's kids because you're going to vote no on a school millage. But that is why. That's football fields and playground equipment, okay? It's a little bit of building maintenance. But look at how much money they rake in on those things. It's incredible. It's incredible. Go ahead to the next slide, please. Okay, Grand Rapids Community College. Hey, community college is going to be free to everybody, right? Isn't that what Governor Whitmer said? Free community college. And I said, well, if the professors are working for free and the admin staff is working for free and the janitor's going to work for free, if the utilities and the insurance are free, if the books are free, whatever, then you can give it away for free. But that's not the case. We're going to be paying for it. Grand Rapids Community College has a millage here. Kent Intermediate School District has a millage here. Look at that, Kent Intermediate School District. Wow, $1,300. Shazam. But anyway, go down ahead to the next one. State education tax. This state education tax, this 6 mills, is where the state collects this 6 mills from everybody's property tax bill. It goes into a bucket at the state. It amounts to $2.5 billion, okay? $2.5 billion. Does anybody know how much the state of Michigan is currently spending on their public school aid fund bucket? 24 billion. 24 billion is what we're spending in public schools. We spend more on our public schools than 21 other states spend on their whole states. The quality of our education, we're 2 from the bottom overall. We're 2 from the bottom. And we spend more than 21 states spend on their total budget. So I'm looking at this going, okay, this makes sense to me. $2.5 billion off our property taxes goes to the state budget, $2.5 billion in this little box. It flows directly into this big box called Public School Aid Fund, right? This is $24 billion, this is only $2.5 billion. We've lost more than 10% of our public school attendance. Isn't 2.5 really close to 10% of 24 billion? Pretty close. Let's do new math. And you know what? So couldn't we get rid of that without having too much effect on the schools? Where does the schools get the other $21.5 billion, right? Because 24 billion minus the 2.5 billion in property tax, there's still $21.5 billion. Where does that come from? Corporate business tax, sales tax, income tax, lottery tax, real estate transfer tax, marijuana, alcohol, and tobacco tax, tax. All the other taxes we pay still fund the schools. The schools are not going to fall apart. Maybe we wish they would. I don't know, because the quality is not very good. That is the bucket that the state takes and divides amongst all of the schools depending on how many kids show up on counting day, okay? That bucket right there, the state education tax bucket. Grand Rapids Community College and Kent Intermediate School District already gets money out of that bucket. So, and now they're up here again. That's double dipping. They're not living within their budgets, right? Because they have extra millages on here. Okay, let's go to the next one, please. All right, and I'm not trying to pick on schools, but this seems to be a bit of a concern for people. They're like, oh, how are you going to fund schools? So, but what I'm showing you is here, way over here on the left-hand side, 1977, 1978, attendance in schools. Over here, 2020, 2021, that red line is the decrease in schools attendance, public school attendance, okay? That decrease in lines. But those pretty blue lines that are going up and down like this, that's the number of schools. Why are we still building schools when we're losing so many kids out of our public schools? The city of Grand Rapids is closing 10. The city of Grand Rapids is going to be closing 10 public schools. Up in Antrim County, I think it was called Central Lake, maybe, had a millage. They just had it, they tried a millage. $27 million, 30 years. They only have 248 kids in that school right now. That was over $100,000 per kid. Luckily, there was a lady up there that went like, holy crap, Karla, that's going to add $336 a year to my property taxes. And in 30 years, how many more other millages are going to be added to my property taxes? She goes, I'm on Social Security. I can't afford that. She busted her butt. She printed off, I don't know, 12 to 1,500 postcards. She ran around her neighborhoods and this, that, whatever else. She got a lot of people mad at her. But you know what? They voted it down. Yay. That is what we need to do with these millages. Get these stinking millages off your property tax bill. If we can't eliminate our property taxes altogether, if we do not succeed, we're going to try as hard as we can. But if we don't succeed, you all can help yourself by going out and voting no on these millages and keep them off your property tax bill. Go ahead to the next slide. Okay, all of the spending on education, all I'm going to tell you is that we are 48th worst out of 50. Not good. Here statewide, only 28% of the high school students met the minimum SAT scores. Go ahead. We know our reading is horrible. What do we know about Alaska? Alaska is very expensive, right? Their cost of living is very expensive, but Michigan is right underneath them on how much money we spend per student. K through 12, that's the average, $13,000. Post-secondary, $33,000. You know, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous in how much money we spend. Okay, go to the next slide. Let's talk about my Kent County operating expenses. Of this $5,200 bill, $1,000 of it goes to police, fire, and road commission. I'll pay that all day long. Just don't attach it to my property tax, my properties, right? Because I feel that police, fire, and road commission are some of our essential services. I think this has EMS in it as well. So when you look at that proportionate, I'm like, all of the rest of that is school-related. It's all school-related. And then I just have my police and fire. Go ahead, go down to the next slide, please. Okay, admin fee is $0. Imagine that. Because I went to my township supervisor and I said, Steve, it's like pouring salt in my wounds. You're charging me to take money away from me. Why? You know, that hurts. Get it? You know what? If you're going to collect that money for all of those other entities, make them pay that admin fee. Why do I have to pay it, right? So he said, you're right, Karla, I'll get rid of it. So he took the admin fee off our property tax bills. And you know what? It cost him $118,000. Cannon Township was collecting $118,000 a year just off that stinking admin fee. And he got rid of it like that. He didn't bat an eye. He just said, you're right, let's get rid of it. And I thought, holy cow, you've been charging it. You've been charging us that fee for how long? For how long? And it could just go away, like that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Here he is, the infamous Steve. He put out a Cannon Township communicator and said, hey, I'm going to eliminate the admin fee. I'm going to eliminate the franchise fee from your cable bill. And they actually reduced the Cannon Township's operating millage by 5%. Yay! I said, nice start, but we're going for the other 95%, Steve. I want it gone because you know what? The township that I live in, Cannon Township, we have so much money stashed away, we're making over $100,000 a year just in interest. I did not think governments were supposed to be for profit. I thought they were supposed to be there just to, you know, keep the law and order, help us do elections, write a few zoning laws, whatever. My township, Cannon Township, Every township. There's 1,240 townships in the state of Michigan. Every township gets a chunk of the sales tax that is collected, okay? It's called general revenue sharing of sales tax. It's by population. So my township, Cannon Township, has 14,400 people. We got $1.5 million last year as our share of the sales tax. So your township would have gotten money as well. 1.5 million is almost more than we spend. It's almost more than we spend. So I'm like, okay, well then why are you charging us so much in property tax? What's the deal? You know, he did go down 5% on the operating. But you're making $100,000 in interest. Why do you keep charging us more? More money, more money, more money. You get, values go up, right? Values go up, more houses get built, new people come into the area, and we're still getting taxed the same, if not more, obviously, than last year. So let's go on to the next one. This was my 2023 summer property bill at my commercial. This is a commercial building. Summer property tax bill, $20,000. Sucks. But you know what? All of those are schools. Look at the very bottom one is my Kent County operating. That's my police and fire again. Out of $20,000, it's only $2,700. As a entity, as a commercial entity, I have no problem paying for police and fire protection. I have no problem paying for road commission and emergency services. I will pay for that. But my building is not going to go to school. We have schools come to our building, for little tours and stuff like that. But we can't take our school to the building, our building to the school, and yet we have to pay all of those taxes. Now that's my working capital. If I didn't have that, this summer bill plus my winter bill is about $36,000 a year. I sell eggs and toast for breakfast. I have to sell a lot of eggs and toast. But you know what? Every time somebody goes and votes yes on one of those millages, your eggs and toast are going to go up. Because I have to pass that cost on, right? So, like I said, this is my working capital. If I didn't have to pay $36,000 a year, I could hire an extra person or two. And when we hire people, doesn't that generate more revenue for the state? Right? We're paying more in corporate business tax. We're paying more in state income tax. We're going to pay, people get a little jingle in their money. They go and generate more sales tax. But when businesses are saddled with property taxes like this, it really stunts our growth. And Governor Whitmer knows this because what does she do? She takes billions of our dollars. You guys all signed that check. I saw you do it. I saw your name on that check to that company down in Marshall, Michigan. We gave them $1 billion of our hard-earned tax dollars. Remember we had that excess, like $9 billion excess? $3 billion of it went to foreign entities to come and buy land here in Michigan, and they were all forgiven property taxes. So the plant in Marshall, Michigan was given $1 billion of our dollars, and we forgave them $772 million in taxes. The Goshen plant, I'm sure you've all heard of, in Mecosta County, we gave them a check for $700 million. They will not pay property taxes to the state of Michigan for 30 years. I want that deal. Why don't I get that deal? I was born and bred here in Michigan. I've done a lot of business here in Michigan. I don't get that deal. How many of you have gotten a deal like that? Right? We have a paper plant in Escanaba. It's owned by the Swedish, okay? We gave them $200 million, and then we rezoned the land under that paper plant. It is now called a forest product process renaissance zone. And they will never pay one single dollar to the state of Michigan in property tax. How do we compete with that? I'm going to take questions at the end, sir. Is that okay? Absolutely, thank you. That's the plan. And you know what? That is my plan. We need, the number one goal of AxMiTax is to maintain private ownership of land. because we're losing it and we're losing it fast.
And they want everybody to be renters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to get to that. Thank you for reminding me. Go ahead. Next slide, please. All right. So we don't really need to go. That was that Rockford. Remember on my homestead, I was exempt from this top one, but my business, unfortunately, is not. Am I still on? Okay. Go ahead and go ahead. And Kent County operating, like I said, was $2,700 of the $20,000 bill. Go ahead. Okay, winter property tax. This gets a little bit more interesting. Let's go to the next slide. All right, I'm going to talk about, you guys have a library here? You like your library? Do you? How many go? How many go to the library? How many use the library? Some of you. Okay, awesome. I am not here. You will see the Detroit Free Press, which is not free, but the Detroit Free Press did a hit piece on me. I think the Port Huron paper did a hit piece on me. There's all kinds of papers that are doing hit pieces on me, and then every once in a while I get interviewed and I get to spew a few words and I get mad and whatever. They think I want to shut down the libraries. I'm a bookaholic. I don't want to shut down the library. I love books. But I don't expect other people to pay for them for me. I can do that myself. But anyway, I know that people like to go to libraries, and that's fine. That's great. I'm not here to defund anybody except Lansing of a little money, okay? So, but people go, well, Karla, the libraries are going to have to shut down. And I'm like, why do you say that? Why do you say that? Because you know what? If I'm not paying $7,000 in property taxes, if I don't have to pay $7,000 in property taxes, and if I want to go to the library, I'll buy a membership card for $100 or whatever the number is. What's the number going to be? I will pay that because I'm not paying $7,000 in property tax. If I really love my library that much and I want to go and I want to support it, I will pay to go and to use it. But I think there's a lot of people, some people have said, well, we go there to make copies. Okay. Well, you know what? We also pay for township halls. Let's put a couple of computers and printers in the township hall, which is something else we already support with our property tax dollars, and let people go there if they're just going to print copies. Go there. I go to my church. I go to my bank. I go anywhere. If I need a copy, I'm like, here. You know, if I'm like not home where I can't do it myself, I have multiple places I can go to make copies. And people go, and then people go, yeah, but they have groups there. Okay, well, have the group. You know what? We all pay for schools. Schools are public property, right? Have your groups at schools. Have your groups at the township hall. There's other things to do. I mean, I'm just trying to think outside the box. I'm not trying to defund the libraries. But you know what? Show me the book in the library that's worth somebody losing their home. Because that's what happens. We don't know which millage it is that's going to tip somebody over the edge, do we? Which of these millages is going to be unaffordable to somebody we don't know? We don't know which one that is. Okay, go ahead. Yep, here it is. Show me the book in the library that's worth someone losing their home. Go to the next one, please. Kent County Seniors and Veterans. Kent County Seniors and Veterans. I'm a senior now. I come from a family with veterans. I have a son-in-law who is 100% disabled veteran. He does not have to pay property taxes, but there's a lot of veterans out there that might not be 100% disabled. But why are they paying property tax? That's another good reason to get rid of them, right? I would have said, I'm going to go vote yes on these two millages when they came up for renewal. But we're going to look at the next slide, and I'm going to show you why I didn't. See this slide right here? August 22, Kent County ballot. It says seniors, veterans. And I'm like, well, there's the summary of what we were supposed to vote for, but the yes and no boxes are way down here. What's all that crap in the middle? See all that green stuff in there? 31 downtown development authorities are attached to my seniors and my veterans. 31. How much money are my veterans getting? How much of my money are my seniors getting? So I just said, nope, I'm going to vote no there. I will give my veterans money, organizations I want to fund. I will do something for my seniors. Y'all go to church. We are our brother's keepers. Do we let anybody starve? If you know somebody's hungry, do you let them starve? No, I don't think I need the government The government's going to take $1,000 from me, and the guy at the end who's supposed to get that money, he's going to get maybe $100 because there's too many sticky fingers along the way. We're paying too many layers of government to get that man the money that he needs. You're going to take a ton from me, give him very little bit. I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I want those downtown development authorities to go away. Does everybody understand what they're all about? Do you know what DDAs are, downtown development authorities? All right. If, say, you have like a nice little downtown area, and they say, you know what, it'd really look nice if we put potted flowers down 11th Street and 13th Street. Let's put potted flowers down there. They do a downtown development authority. It's like, hey, it's going to cost $8,000 to do that. When they get their $8,000 and they put their potted plants on, they're supposed to go away. They're supposed to be closed out and done. They never go away. They stay out there, they stay out there, they stay out there, and they keep taking money and keep taking money. Okay? Go ahead, let's go to the next slide. This one is Kent County Zoo and the museum. I have not been, this is the John Ball Zoo. The zoo was given to the county by the city because the city didn't have enough people to support it. So they gave it to the county because the county has larger population. I have not been to this zoo, even though it's not that far away from me. I've not been to this zoo since 3rd grade when they shoved us all on a bus and drove us there. I like my farm animals. I like horses. I'm not that crazy about zoos, but I understand that it's there. And a museum. I pay for both of those things on my property tax bill. Haven't been to either one of them in many, 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 many years. This museum here wants to spend $77 million, not on museum quality artifacts. It's for a wave park and a food vendor court. All right, it's downtown Grand Rapids. What about all the small business restaurants down there that are struggling to still survive after being closed during COVID? They're struggling to survive, and we're going to put a food vendor court down there that's going to be supported by the taxpayers, so they don't really have to make any money at that food vendor court, right? Because we're just going to keep paying and keep it open, but it's in direct competition with all of those small business owners down there. I think that, you know, I just don't care for that situation, but anyway, let's go to the next slide. Talking about Cannon Township operating, he has dropped that by 5% now, not on this bill, but the last bill we got. So my Cannon Township operating and Cannon Township fire is about $500 of that $2,300 bill. The rest of it is all stuff I don't use. Haven't been to the jail. I know we need a jail, but I haven't been there. Not since I was with the department. Last year, Cannon Township Rec. Remember when I said that our township, Cannon Township, got $1.5 million from the state from sales tax. Last year, we had so much money, we spent $560,000 building a pickleball court on township property. And we also are building another $800,000 walking trail with a $265,000 engineering bill. We haven't seen what the maintenance on either one of those are going to cost us yet, but I'm sure it's going to cost us. And I said something to Steve, my supervisor. I'm like, what the heck, Steve? And he goes, Karla, look, people voted for it. See, you have a Cannon Township recreation and people voted for it. We got to be careful what we vote for, because I don't know how long that's going to hang out there, but that's another $121 I have to spend for things I don't use, right? I could use that $120 somewhere else. I mean, if you want to play pickleball, if you go to a gym, you can play all year round. You can't play on this one if the surface is wet. So how many days out of the year are people not going to be able to pay? And I swear, these people here that wanted that pickleball court are the same 100 people that wanted the walking trail, that wanted the other 4 walking trails we built before this one. I live in kind of a rural area. The only thing I have to worry about getting hit by if I want to walk down the road is a deer or a cow, because there's not that many cars. So it's like, what are we going to do with another $800,000 walking trail? Something I forgot about the library, I want to mention this because I think this is something else you guys need to go and do. go do the math. My township, again, Cannon Township, 14,400 people, and that's from birth to death, okay, in between. Last year, my township collected $1,048,000 in property taxes for the library. $1,048,000. We got 14,400 people in Cannon Township, but not everybody pays property taxes, right? You know that. So I called the director at the library and I said, can you please tell me how many people from Cannon Township use that library that's in the next town over from us? We share it with, there's 3 townships in one city. We all share the same library. Kent District Library does not own the library. They just lend us books and other services, right? Okay. Kent County gets about $2.7 million from those 3 townships and that one city to use that one library, okay? I called the director of the library and I said, could you please tell me, with all this great technology we have, can you please tell me how many people from Cannon Township use the library? Nope, Karla, I'm afraid we can't tell you that. But what we can tell you is that there were 2,200 swipes made of cards belonging to Cannon Township residents. And I said, well, is that 100 people going 22 times? Is it 22 people going 100 times? What is it? They couldn't tell me. So anyway, I said, well, I'll just do the math. I divided $1,048,000 by 2,200, which is how many swipes they said. And I think it equals out to about $320 or something like that. $320 is what it cost me every time somebody from Cannon Township went to that frickin' library. How many books can you buy with $320? Because they didn't get to buy those books. They didn't get to keep those books. They were just borrowing those books. Think about how much money does it cost to do some of these things. I think we're getting rooked. Yes. I think, they've pulled the wool over our eyes, and we need to start demanding some answers and some accountability. Cannon Township's budget is 6 pages long. Kent County's budget is 92 pages long. State of Michigan's budget is 180 pages long. You decide which one you'd rather talk about. I'd rather see it at my local level. Because I can go down there and bug the crap out of Steve and say, what are you doing? This is not right. Something's got to change, right? Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. Transit tax, this is just a vacant piece of property. Vacant, okay? Property's vacant, but look at all the taxes it has to pay, right? Transit tax just kills me. Because I see some of these buses out there, and there's like 2 people on them. And I'm like, how is that when they talk about being green and energy efficiency and all this other kind of stuff when you got a couple of people on a bus? But you know what? We're all paying for the transit tax. Okay, go on to the next one. We are just asking the government to tighten their belt, just like we have been forced to do to survive. Because you know what? I would love to eat steak, but I'm eating hot dogs on Friday night because of the budgeting, because of the cost of the groceries, right? You have the cost of the groceries, and man, our utilities, it's been a pretty easy winter. Would you know it by looking at your utility bills? I feel like we've had 80 days of 0-degree weather when I look at my heat bill. It's crazy. Raise taxes, cut spending. You know what? Every time I do this presentation, people just go, Karla, where's the replacement revenue coming from? They all want to know how we're going to replace the money from the property taxes. And I'm like, why does no one ask me, where can we cut? No one asks me, where do we cut money? Where do we cut spending? They're always worried about the replacement revenue. Go ahead to the next slide, please. We can do this now. Every time we vote no on millages, remember, we can vote no on, do you have any millages coming up on February 27th?
Yes. Oh, yeah, 4.
Oh, are you kidding me? What are they for? Tell me.
One's for library, one's for fire, emergency services.
One's for road, one's for road.
One's for road.
And something else nobody cares about. That's okay. Please vote no. Please vote no on all millages. I know people look at me like, what? We need this, we need that, we need that, we need that. But who needs it? Who uses 100% of the services on their property tax bill? Who uses half of the services on their property tax bill? But you all want to keep paying for it? Wouldn't it be better to pay by consumption or use? If you use it, pay to play kind of a thing, maybe? Because I have not met a group of people yet that is happy with our public school system. I haven't met a group yet. And I'm like, so what if we take a little bit of money away from them? Governor, she's just going to keep giving them more. You can see what she's doing. Now it's free community college. Now it's now she's going to get your kids in pre-K. Right? Now she's free daycare, free this, free secondary college. This is up to us to stop this. This is in our hands, and we can stop this. This initiative right here gives you all the opportunity to say, no more, we're done. If you want the government to spend less money, you have to send the government less money to spend. It is the only language they understand. Hit them in the wallet. You can go there and you can, I've been to, how many of you have attended school board meetings? I had people asking me, Karla, you're a business person in Rockford. You have to come to the school board meeting. You have to say something. And I would go and I would say my little part, like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what you're doing. I don't want to pay for this crap. But I saw these parents, and bless their hearts, stand up, crying, tears running down their face, blubbering, shaking their fingers, shaking their heads, trembling. My kids have face acne from the mask. My kid is sick from getting the shot. This, that, whatever else. And I sat there and I'd watch them. I went 3 times in a row, 3 months in a row. And the 4th time they said, are you coming to the school board meeting? And I said, no, not doing it. I'm not going to go anymore. Why not? Because what you're doing isn't working. You got to do something different. Do you see? Those people don't even acknowledge you. They stare at you. They don't even acknowledge you. They don't care about your tears. They don't care about your kids. But you know what? They're like, well, what would you have us do, Karla? Well, here's what I would do. I would go there and I would say, I don't want to pay for this crap anymore. So you, and you are all going to be primaried. We're going to find somebody to run against you. And then I'm going to go down to my township and say, I don't want to pay for this anymore. Not that it would do any good, right? But you have to make noise. Right. You have to tell them the only language they understand is money. Right. Hit them in the wallet. Tell them we're going to go make sure that we vote no for every stinking school millage. That's what we're going to tell people to do, right? That's what you have to do. They don't care about your tears. They don't care about your kids. That's why you need to do something different than what they were doing. Because what they were doing, they're still there. They're still there. That was 2 years ago. They're still going to those school board meetings. They're still doing the same thing. And guess what? The playground millage just passed, right? Didn't do them any good. Go ahead. This is the important part. This budget right here, this is a flow chart, comes right from the House Fiscal Agency out of Lansing. All of the numbers I talk about are numbers from Lansing, okay? Because if they ever call me on it and say, well, Karla, where'd you get your numbers from? I'll go, you guys in Lansing, here it is, right here. So everything on the left side, the very left column, those are all taxes that we pay. Here's something to know about the budget. The state of Michigan, what is it now? About 80 billion? Did she pass about 80 billion? Okay. How much money does the state of Michigan get in revenue? Does anybody know? We're spending 80 billion. I'll tell you. We're bringing in about 38.5 billion. Spending 80, bringing in 38.5 from these taxes here that we pay. Okay? Where's the rest of the money coming from? Federal government. Where does the federal government get their money from? Michigan is one of the worst offending states, having its hand out to the federal government saying, we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. I think we need to stop spending. You know, Georgia is very similar to the state of Michigan in size, population, and gross domestic product. Georgia spends what they make. They're at about 40. But they bring in 40 billion and they spend 40 billion. How are we so far off? You know, somebody's got to take away that woman's credit card. Because she's just swiping it like crazy. I don't know where she's getting all this free money from, but I have a feeling it's from us. Okay, so the top bucket, that's the biggest one. The biggest top, not the very top bucket, that's corporate business tax. The biggest one underneath that is individual income tax. That's the state income tax dollars we pay. Now, I will tell you, I worked on one of the 12, we had 12 gubernatorial candidates a couple years ago, the last governor cycle. All 12 of them were talking about eliminating state income tax until I got a hold of the one that I was working with, and I said, it has to be property tax. We have to eliminate property tax. Getting rid of state income tax does not work here in Michigan. We are not Florida. Why does it work in Florida? Because only 1/3 of their people are working, 1/3 of their people are retired, and 1/3 of their people are residents from outside the state. So they said, cool, we're going to jack up our property taxes because all of those really nice homes along that very long coast, those people are going to support the state through their out-of-state property tax ownership, right? Okay? So, hey, yeah, we can give relief to the 1/3 of the people that work here. They don't have to pay state income tax. Seniors don't have to pay. But how much state income tax do seniors pay? Not a lot. You're not making any money other than interest or something, right? That bucket is pretty big. It's almost half of the state's revenue. How would we get rid of it? So I've told a few of them, some of those people, they're out there still, and I think they're hovering, thinking they're going to run for the governor spot again. And I've told them straight to their face, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Getting rid of state income tax, you're going to put us in a world of hurt, right? I don't mind paying. It's only $4.25 every $100. If I make $100, I only got to pay $4.25 in state income tax. But you know what? By the end of the year, I get a big chunk of it back. Do you not? Don't you get some of it back? So how much did you really pay, right? But it's half of our budget almost. That one where the little red arrow is at, that's our sales tax bucket. That's the one that I said every township in the state of Michigan gets a chunk of that sales tax bucket. And here's the thing. See the dark little gold? See where the arrow is pointing right to that tiny little dark goldish colored line at the bottom of that bucket? That's all we're using. That's all the townships are getting. All 1,240 townships across the state of Michigan. My township alone is getting $1.5 million. It only equals that much of that little sales tax bucket. That much. You can see it right there. Okay? So the rest of that sales tax is going into the schools, the state income tax going into the schools, alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco going into the schools. The schools is the green bucket, okay? The school fund is the green bucket. So you can see how many shades of green are going into that school bucket. The schools are going to be fine. They'll be fine without our property tax dollars. The blue is the general fund. That's kind of like the governor's discretionary funds. Throw that money away. That's where the $3 billion that she paid to the foreign entities, that came out of that general fund bucket up there. So what our proposal does, we want a bigger chunk of that sales tax bucket. We're only going to increase the amount that we take out by 5%. But my township, Cannon Township, will go from about 1.5 million to about 2.2 to 2.3 million is what they'll get with our increase. Our proposal will increase the amount that every township gets. So my township's going to go from about 1.5 to about 2.2 to 2.3. More importantly, and that's constitutionally, that is constitutionally mandated, so it has been happening. It is happening. You can ask your township officials, do you get money from the state from general from sales tax, they'll tell you yes. The counties have not been getting their money because it's not constitutional, it's statutory. So if it's statutory, again, it's up to the discretion of the governor. Do I want to give the counties any money? No, I would rather give it to CCP. I'd rather give it to China. So what we're mandating or making constitutional is that the counties will receive their money before it gets squandered out of that general fund, general purpose bucket, that blue bucket. So my county, Kent County, one of the four largest counties, would have gotten $26 million last year. Okay? So that's $26 million that my county is going to get from the state. There still might be some shortfalls within some of these counties. There's a lot of townships that we are going to be able to make whole just by giving them more of that sales tax bucket. That's based on today's numbers. We think, I'll show you, which one do you think is the property tax bucket? It's the one right under that little red arrow. See that little bucket that's under the red arrow? That's the property tax bucket. That's that $2.5 billion. See how tiny that is? It's very little. We think when that property tax bucket goes away, when there is no more property tax, the state income tax bucket, the sales tax bucket, and the corporate business tax buckets will explode and far outweigh that little property tax bucket. And Governor Whitmer knows this, right? She wants to pay companies to come into Michigan to try to stir the economy, right? To stimulate the economy. We don't need to pay them. If there's no property tax, we'll have businesses coming here. When there's businesses coming here, we'll now get people to come back, right? Because there's business, because there's jobs, but there's also no property tax. So all of those other revenue sources will increase and will eliminate the need for the property tax credit. Plus then the townships and the counties and the schools will benefit because they're going to get more money as those other buckets increase, right? It's kind of like an economic thing. If you understand that, it's economics 101. So that is what our proposition is. We really just wanted to eliminate property tax. Why? Because we have to maintain private ownership of our land. I was up in Ogama. Is that very far from here? We're Ogama. West Branch. Yes. I was up there. I went there and all these guys came in and they were all wearing their 2A hats, 2A shirts, 2A vests, 2A jackets, 2A buttons all over, stickers, whatever. I'm like, wow, you guys are like loving your Second Amendment. You're darn right, Karla. We're going to work really, really hard. We're going to fight really hard to keep our Second Amendment. And I said, well, you better work 100 times harder to maintain private ownership of your land. Because if you don't own your land, you will not own a gun. Okay? You will not be able to have a gun on government-owned or government-subsidized property. They won't have to take away your Second Amendment right. When they take away your home, you will have no place to have a gun. When they take away your home, you will not have a place for a garden. When they take away your home, you will not have the ability to have a chicken for eggs. You won't be able to have a small engine repair shop. You won't be able to do anything that might bring in extra income because they want to be your landlord. The government wants to be your landlord. That is what they're aiming for. That is what they're coming for. And these property taxes are just going to keep going up and up and up. And I get it. I get that property taxes have to go up. But let's stop taking people's property because they can't pay a bill for services they don't use. So when people say, well, Karla, where's the replacement revenue going to come from? I just go, I don't care. And I get hung up for that. People hang me out to dry because I don't care, but I don't care. Right now, we've proven they don't need any more taxes. They do not need to raise any tax. And I don't want to give them any ideas. I don't want to say raise sales tax by 1%. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say do this or do that. I don't want to give them any ideas. Whitmer has enough of her own. She wants to raise real estate transfer tax. Do you all know that when you go to sell a property, you pay real estate transfer tax? She wants to increase that now. Why? Because that's how she's going to pay for affordable housing. With the real estate transfer tax increase. So what she's doing is, why can't we just eliminate property tax? Businesses will come, people will come. She has already formed a committee. You know this. She formed a committee to find out where everybody was going and why. I think we could tell her. I think she could have just asked us instead of forming a committee. But she doesn't want to ask us. She wants to ask people that think like her. Now she has formed a committee to find out. Now we have to come up with ideas on how to bring people back. How to bring people back. We're going to raise taxes so we can fix the roads. We're going to raise taxes so we can have better schools. We're going to raise taxes so we have more social programs. That will bring people here, and then we're going to give them cash. We're going to give them cash, your hard-earned money. We're going to give them cash, and then they'll come here. And I'm like, yeah, and then they're going to take our cash, and they're going to look at the tax bill, and they're going to pick up, and they're going to leave. Again, why are we not worried about retaining people that are here? I can make housing affordable. Get rid of property tax. If you are a renter, do we have any renters in here? Or do we have any landlords in here? If you are a renter, every time you go and vote yes on a millage, you just raised your own rent. Don't cry to me. Don't cry to me. Because you think you're getting a service for free. Nothing's free. It's going to come back on you. You raise my property tax, the cost of your bacon and eggs are going up. But I tell you what, you keep raising it too high, you won't come and eat bacon and eggs by me anymore because they're going to go, Karla's bacon and eggs are too high. I'm going to pick my business up and I'm going to leave town. Is that what's happening? Businesses are leaving town. When you lose businesses, you lose your community. You lose jobs, you lose revenue, you lose services. Absolutely. And you know what? My state rep, I do not like him. He's a nice man. He's not a good politician. He comes over to me and he goes, and I keep sending him, Brian, what's going on with this raise the wage crap? I have a little restaurant. I am not going to pay a dishwasher, probably their first job, $15 an hour to have their hand. You can't wash dishes with your phone in one hand. It doesn't work, but they try. They try. And I'm like, I can't pay them $15 an hour because now my burger's got to go up to $22. Why are we doing that? I said, here's what I'm going to do, Brian. I'm going to fire everybody but me and the cook. People are going to come to my restaurant. They're going to order. They're going to order here at the counter. They're going to pay at the counter. They're going to sit down. I'll bring them their food. The other 11 people that I employ, they're going to go out the door. Let's ask the state how much money they make off kiosks at McDonald's. Right? Because does that help the state? When you raise the wage to $15 an hour, what good does that do? Because everything else has to go up accordingly. So we just end up spending more money for all of those products. And the state actually loses money. They think they're going to make more money. The state might make a little bit more on wages and this and that, whatever else. But not when people start going to robotics. Not when we start firing everybody. Oh, and then you know what? I fire somebody, now they go on unemployment. I fire somebody, now maybe they need to go on food stamps or welfare. I let those people go, now they cost us all more money, right? How does that benefit the state? What we need is people. We need people to generate income. All right, let's go to the next screen. Understanding the budget, Michigan doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem. There's where our $3 billion went to the foreign entities. Let's go to the next screen. If we eliminate property taxes in Michigan, we will create an economic boom. Okay, let's go to the next one. What we are proposing, we're going to eliminate real and personal property tax, increase constitutional revenue share, more revenue share to the counties, 2/3 vote. Let's talk about this. I don't know if I'll ever get that to fly. I'm hoping I can. Because you know what? In Grand Rapids, there was some precincts that had, let's just say you have 100 people in a precinct and 6% come out and vote. 6%. 6 people. 4 vote yes, 2 vote no. You just all got saddled with a whole bunch more debt. People are not paying attention to elections. You're not paying attention to when these millages come up. You have to go, you have to research them. You have to find out what they're about. And for heaven's sakes, go vote no, especially when we're trying to eliminate your property taxes. If we can't eliminate your property tax, at least make them more affordable by voting no. There's none of these services that are life and death. There's none of the services on those millages that are life and death other than your police and fire. But you know what? Most townships will be able to cover their police and fire services with the money that they get from the sales tax. Townships have to cut spending. Counties have to cut spending. I love it when the Detroit Free Press lady, she wrote an article. She called me first. I gave her my spiel, my numbers, this, that, whatever else. And then after that, she contacted a township supervisor, a county commissioner, and a library director. And they, of course, said, the sky is going to fall, the world is going to end, everything is going to be a huge disaster. And they said, what this lady, me, what I'm trying to do is like the stupidest thing they've ever heard. Oh my gosh, it's going to be the end of the world. So Channel 7 came back and said, do you want to say anything about that? Which I think Channel 7 didn't put my whole interview on there, but I said, yes, I do. Because I said, of course, if those are the people you're going to talk to, that's what they're going to say. But why don't you talk to the people that are paying the bill? Why don't you ask those people if they can afford the money that other people are spending? So what I said to him, I said, if there's a township supervisor or a county commissioner out there that cannot see their way to saving people money, maybe they're more worried about saving their job than they are about you saving your house, right? That's not the kind of person we need there. We need our advocates for us, right? We have to be better at who we elect and put in those positions. They better be thinking about our money and our houses. It's not their money and their house, okay? We need to do a better job. You cannot elect someone because they're nice. Do not elect them because they're nice looking. Do not elect them because they're your neighbor or your relative. You have to be better at vetting these people. It can't be because they're a patriot. It can't be because they're a Christian. We want them to be Christians. We want them to be patriots, but there's a whole lot of other questions in there that you have to be asking them in order to be able to have a seat up there at those tables. Township supervisors, county commissioners, because they're killing us. They're decimating us personally and as a state. We average about 180,000 privately owned properties in Michigan every year enter into a tax lien seizure process. 180,000. Doesn't mean they all make it all the way through, but these are tax liens, not mortgage liens. These are properties that are free and clear of the bank, but they owe back taxes or they owe taxes, and they're going to enter into a tax lien foreclosure process. So even if they don't go all the way through the whole process, people are still forced to sell their home. People that don't want to are forced to sell their home, right? Farmers, we lost 402 farms and over 100,000 farm acres last year. Who's going to grow our food? China? Bill Gates? You're going to eat bug bacon? We need to think about this. This is so much bigger than ourselves, right? We have to think about everybody else in the state. You have to think, when you go and vote yes on a millage, you better be thinking about your neighbor. Is your neighbor, can he afford it? Or are you going to put him out of his house? because you want to go read a book. You can get books anywhere. I know. I get it. I get that the library is important, and I don't want to close the libraries. I just want them to get the money somewhere else where it doesn't cost somebody their home. That's what we have to do. There's multiple other avenues to get revenue from, to support these services that need to be supported. And maybe there's some that just need to go away and don't need to be supported anymore. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I don't even know what's on here anymore. All I want to do is bring some of the money that we've already paid. Those are taxes that we've already paid. All we're asking is for the state, instead of squandering it, bring it back down to us. Let us deal with it at our local and county level. Next slide, please. Here's where some of the money has gone, okay? $500,000 for a hip hop academy in Detroit, $1 million for a splash pad in Ann Arbor, $2 million for a third curling facility in Grand Traverse, $1 million for an equestrian center in Detroit, $500,000 for an electric boat charging station. I never thought water and electric mixed, but I guess we'll know different. $200 million, that's the Swedish paper plant I talked about. $20 million grant. Where do grants come from? Where's the source for a grant? Taxpayers' money? Yeah, so they just call it a grant to make it sound better. $20 million grant for Greektown development, $1.5 million for Parks and Recreation in Warren, $6 million for the City of Detroit Recreation City Improvements, $500,000 for a new recreation center in Oakland County, $5 million for a collection of racist images. This is just in the last little bit of pork barrel spending. It was a Jim Crow collection. I thought they wanted to erase all of our history, but I guess not that history. They wanted that. So this is just the last bit of pork barrel spending that has happened, right? This is where your dollars are going. When your neighbor's losing his home, think of this list. Is it one of the millages on your property tax bill, or is it one of these things that you're losing your house or your farm to? Because it's going to be one of them. I'm going to talk real brief. I don't even know if I have this on here. Affordable housing, and I know people chuckle when I say that, because that is exactly what it is. And if you know anything, do you have affordable housing coming here to your area, county, whatever? Run away from it as fast as you can. Affordable housing is your tax dollars, and the government is subsidizing developers to build affordable housing because they're telling us we need it, right? Even though we've got tens of thousands of people leaving Michigan. Tens of thousands of people are leaving Michigan, and yet we need affordable housing. Okay. Like I said, I can make housing affordable by getting rid of property tax. They don't like that idea. They think we need to build some. So I don't know if they're building it for us after they take our property. Is it for us? Is it for the illegals? Well, I don't want to pay my tax dollars for that either. Either way. Affordable housing units, if you are going to subsidize a builder or a developer and you say, we want you to build 100 units, 100 affordable, we're going to subsidize you, we're going to give you, in Grand Rapids, they gave a guy $116 million to build about 100 units. Only 10%. What's 10% of 100? 10? Okay. Only 10 of them need to be affordable. Meaning, what's affordable? 80 to 120% of the median wage in Michigan. What's the median wage in Michigan? $60,000 roughly. 58, blah, blah, blah. $60,000. So you can make 80% of $60,000 up to 120% of $60,000 and qualify for one of those 10 units in that 100 unit complex, which is subsidized through the government with our tax dollars. Now, I thought, okay, that stinks. That sucks. But then I started reading a little bit more of the fine print, and then I got really mad. Because here's what they did, and this is happening across the state of Michigan. The developer, if he has 100 people working on that project, all of the people, all of the subcontractors, whatever, if he's got 100 people working on that project, and he withholds state income tax from each one of their paychecks, that developer gets to keep that state income tax. I know, right? That's what I said. And on top of that, the sales tax, the 6% sales tax that he's going to pay on all of the product and material he uses on that project, he gets to keep that too. So my question is, does it ever make it into those buckets that we get a share of? Or did we just lose out on all that too? How can you trust your government anymore?
No.
I just feel like I've lost all trust in most of them, almost all of them. There's a few, I will tell you. We have State Representative Jim DeSena. He wants to be the political face of AxMiTax. He is a great guy. He's already held a fundraiser signature thing for us. Gina Johnson, same thing. Steve Cara, same thing. Andrew Fink, Senator Runestad. They are in support of us. They're like, Karla, you have to do this because we can't. They don't have a house. They don't have the majority in the House. So they're saying, you have to do it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It might be the only way we're going to get it done. So we do have support of them. We're starting to get support of some of the businesses. We have a lot of support from the grassroots when we need to keep going. But these affordable housing units are going up all over everywhere. They're taking our land. They're taking our farmland for solar farms. Who are the solar farms subsidized by? Who's the money behind the solar farms? Taxpayers, right? So the government doesn't care how much they pay for a farm. They'll pay what they need to pay because the Citizens for Local Land Choice, that other petition that's going around, they're trying to stop the government from saying, we're going to put a solar farm there and a wind farm there and a solar farm there. That's what that petition is all about, because that's what they're doing. So when you have a farmer that's worried about his property tax, can I afford to pay it? Maybe I'm 1 or 2 bad crop years away from not being able to pay it. He's looking at, who am I going to sell this to? Who's going to be able to buy a 400-acre farm once the cap comes off and the taxes go like this, right? So they have to think about that. The state is actively recruiting farmers for solar farms and wind turbine farms. He might think this is my only choice, because what else am I going to do, right? They can't afford to pay. But if they didn't have to pay property tax, could they afford to pass that farm down to their family? Maybe. Because you know what? Once the solar farm gets there, I'm questioning how much the solar farm's going to pay in property tax. So the county's complaining because they're going to lose that tax revenue from the farmer. You know, if we're going to say, Mr. Farmer, you don't have to pay property tax anymore, the county's going, oh man, we're going to lose all of our property tax. But you know what? When the government comes in and does what they want to do, they don't pay property tax either. Those affordable housing units pay very, very little, if any, property tax. So you have all of those people coming into your community, sucking the services out of your community. Who's going to pay for that? Right? Through your property taxes, you're going to be paying for it. And through your property taxes, you might lose your house. But you know what? You just paid for affordable housing for somebody else.
And they're the ones voting to keep the villages going.
Yep.
Plus Whitmer wants to raise our property taxes another 38%.
Yes. She wants to take the cap off. We have the Headley. Thank goodness we have the Headley Amendment here in Michigan, because most states don't, and they are experiencing 50 to 35% increases in their property taxes. You just start Googling property taxes in Ohio, property taxes in every single one of them. We are creating homeless people we will never, ever, ever be able to afford to take care of. Ever. And you know what? They're okay with it. They're okay with it. And they worry about, well, who's going to pay for the zoo? I don't care. I don't care, because we have homeless people. We are making people homeless every day. We are losing our state. We are losing our state every day. Chunks of our land are being sold off. We will not recognize Michigan anymore. So what are we going to do about it? You're all going to sign my petition. And you're going to go and vote. And you're going to tell everybody else to vote. We have had problems. I need to be 100% full disclosure with you. We have had problems with the Board of Canvassers. We said we want the Board of Canvassers' approval We started going to them back in August. We gave them our petition language, our 100-word summary, the body of the petition. The first time we went there was in September. Jonathan Brader, the election director, he rewrote our summary. The board is 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. They wouldn't approve it. So we had to go back again in October. He rewrote it. They voted on it again in October. They wouldn't approve it. We had to go back again in November. He rewrote it again. The 2 Republicans approved it. 1 Democrat didn't show up. The other Democrat said, well, she didn't disapprove it, but she didn't approve it because she wanted to see it attached to the whole body of the petition, which is not what we had to give them. That's not in the manual. That's not in the rules. But they said, well, you're going to have to come back in December. And then they called us at the very last minute and said, well, it's right before the holidays. We're just going to have a real short meeting. You're not on the agenda. See you in January. We went back in January, and a 100-word summary that was approved by the 2 Republicans in November was rewritten, had been rewritten. So on January 19, that same day, they rewrote it again that day while we were sitting there. And it was horrible, and it was not factually correct. They didn't have the percentages, they didn't have some of the wording correct, and we're like, we can't accept this, but you know what, we're going to move on without you. It is an elective. You can choose to go through the Board of Canvassers, and if you get their approval, it's very highly possible that they will not be able to challenge you after you get the signatures. We were told by many, many, many people, and we saw it ourselves, they were never going to approve our language. They were going to make us come back in February, and then we would have had to go back in March. We would have been going in April, and we needed to get this on the ballot. So we said, adios, see you, we're out. We're going to circulate. There was 2 Democrat attorneys that were sitting in that Board of Canvassers room every time we went there. Same 2 people. They just kept going, we're going to sue you, we're going to sue you, we're going to sue you. Because they wanted to stop us in that Board of Canvassers meeting. They never wanted this petition to get out. They didn't want you. They wanted those couple of people in that Board of Canvassers room to make the decision for you. That you were never going to be able to allow to use your voice or your vote to say we've had enough. No more. This is our money. This is our money. If you don't want to send it to them, don't send it to them. I've had some people go, Karla, why don't we just not send in our winter property taxes? I'm like, hey, great idea. I love that idea. Right? Because all you're going to do is get a little bit of penalty and a little bit of interest, but at the state level, they're going to feel that pinch. They're going to feel that pinch. And what did I say? What language do they understand? Money. Money is the only language they understand. I talked to this anybody here belong to the Small Business Association of Michigan, SBAM? Brian Calley, who used to be our lieutenant governor, he is the head of SBAM. He keeps calling me. He goes, Karla, we could use you on our legislative board. I'm like, I'm sorry, Brian, you don't represent me. And he goes, what do you mean? You're a small business owner. I said, but you don't represent me. He goes, well, what do you mean by that? I said, during COVID, you did everything Whitmer told you to do. You shut us down. Brian, you are the head of the Small Business Association. You're telling me you're 40,000 businesses strong across the state of Michigan? And you did everything Whitmer told you to do. You shut us down. You said, wear your mask, get the jab, do this, do that, whatever. I'm like, you don't represent me because I'm not going along with that crap. And he goes, well, she doesn't listen to us. I said, you just told me you were 40,000 business members strong. How can she not listen to you? Flex your muscle. Well, Karla, what would you have us do? Well, here's what I would have done. I would have sent a very quiet little email out to my 40,000 business members, and I would have said, hang on to your sales tax for a couple of months. Don't send it in. Use it to pay your property taxes because you have no revenue coming in because you're closed, right? It's like you have sales tax. You can make a little bit of money or whatever sales tax you do have, use it to pay some of those other bills that you have to pay. Just don't send it into the government for a couple months. You'll get penalty, you'll get interest. They can't put all 40,000 of us in jail, not all at the same time. What are you going to do? And he goes, oh, Karla, I can't do that. I said, there you go. That's why you don't represent me. Because you are going to do right or wrong. You're going to do whatever they're telling you to do. That is not correct, right? We know that this is damaging to the people of the state of Michigan, and you are not helping us. You are supposed to be our voice. We are paying our dues to you so you will speak to us in Lansing, and you are not speaking for us. He's worried about his paycheck. Yep. And he's worried about staying in good with some of the people that are in Lansing because, you just never know when another job might come his way.
Power's involved also, not just money.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've kind of talked about this. You can go to the next screen a minute. The affordable housing, run away from it. We have an ever-increasing amount of people that don't pay property tax and an ever-decreasing amount of people that are property taxpayers. Okay, so the state is right now 30% renters. And then we have about 30% of people are paying property taxes, and the people in between are not. There's a lot of entities that don't pay property taxes, right? Okay, so we're the third that are supporting everybody else. We won't need to build affordable housing because eliminating property taxes will make housing affordable. Let's go to the next one. Here's a bunch more of the taxes that you pay. That's pretty depressing when you think about it. They will always find a way to replace the revenue, but once we lose our land, we will never get it back. This whole proposal is about saving our state, saving your home, saving your farm, saving your business. That's what this is all about. And like I said, I don't care where the replacement revenue comes from. They can add 1% sales tax. I'll tell you what, I'm paying $7,000 a year right now in property tax just at my house. 6% sales tax. If they bumped that up to 7%, I'd have to spend $100,000 a year on taxable product to pay what I do in property tax and sales tax. Does that just make sense? If I pay $7,000 in property tax, if sales tax was 7%, I would have to buy $100,000 worth of taxable items, which is not food. Food is not tax. How am I going to spend $100,000 a year? Get rid of my property tax, for goodness sakes. I'll take the additional 1% of sales tax because at least I have a choice. Do I want to buy this table and pay sales tax on it? No, walk away from it, leave it there. Have a choice. You don't have a choice with your property tax. You don't have a choice. But you do have the ability to vote no on a millage. And don't just think you're going to go and vote no on that millage. It is up to you as the more educated, better informed person to tell everybody in your neighborhood to go and vote no on that millage. Like I said to one group, just a second, I said to one group, and Pastor Mike, forgive me, I said, unless it's going to fund the second coming of Christ, vote no on the millage. That is the only reason I would vote yes on a millage. From now on, it's no. It's no, because we need to send a very loud message to our township supervisors, our county commissioners, and the people in Lansing. Our voice needs to be, they're not listening to us. They're running right over us. They're bulldozing us over. They're taking our land, they're taking our farms, they're taking everything and leaving us with nothing.